Hello, welcome back to the Wee Larder channel. I hope you're all doing fine. Today we're going to be making 5 delicious family breakfasts. So these are actually really good as make ahead recipes, so you can make them all ahead on the Sunday night and have them for your breakfast the following week, Monday to Friday, and they just make things run really smoothly in the morning and save you time before the crazy school run if you've got kids to take to school. I know it gets a little bit busy in my house anyway, and I don't always do make ahead breakfast, but when I do, it does make things run a little bit smoother in the mornings. Well, you can actually double them up and pop some in the freezer too. For the first recipe we're making, actually the chocolate and banana muffins, I would actually recommend doubling up that recipe because the recipe makes 12, so that would be for us as a family of 6. That's 2 muffins each in the morning. But my kids really like to have the muffins for snacks as well, so they were just eating them before we even got to the breakfast, and we only ended up having like 1 for breakfast. So they're really nice as snacks too, so if you want to have them as snacks as well, you could double that up. So we're going to be making those, the banana and chocolate muffins. We're also making waffles, so we've made a batch of 6 waffles. Again, if you want some more, double them up and you can pop them in the freezer as well. We've made a batch of instant oats. These are super delicious. We made them with some cacao powder, but you can use cocoa powder if you don't have that. So we basically made like a chocolate instant oats. It's very similar to the instant oats that you buy in the supermarket, like the branded ones that you can get, that you just add milk. So you just have to add milk to this recipe in the morning. Super easy, and it's makes a really quick breakfast. The next one we've made is for baked oats. So this is a really simple baked oats recipe. You can add your own variations into it and make your own creations if you want to. I just added an extra sprinkle of chocolate chips over the top just because I had some spare from making the banana muffins, and they turned out really nice. But you could also add some grated apple or some chopped nuts as well, or seeds, just whatever you want to add in there will go. So that's a basic baked oats recipe. Again, it works really nice just heating it up in the morning. One of my son's favourites, the breakfast wraps. He absolutely loves these because he loves haggis. So we like to have haggis in our breakfast wraps with some scrambled eggs and cheese. Sometimes we use a veggie haggis as well, just depending on what kind of mood we're in that week. If you can't get your hands on haggis, I do have a recipe below for a very simple haggis. It's not the full haggis recipe, it's just a very simple crofter's haggis, I believe it's called. It's made with like liver and oatmeal and stuff. And if you don't want to use haggis, you could also use bacon or chopped sausages or something as well. So we've got our waffles, our instant oats, our banana and chocolate muffins, our baked oats, and our breakfast wrap. So I hope you enjoy these lovely recipes, and I hope they save you some time in the kitchen as well. So we're going to start with our banana and chocolate chip muffins. These are definitely our favourite breakfast muffin. They are so delicious, and the kids really enjoy them as a snack as well. So we're going to add all of our flour into our sieve there and just sieve that through. Try not to make a mess like I am. And we're going to add our salt in there as well and just mix that through too. We're then going to mash our bananas in a jug or a bowl. If you've got a bowl, that's fine. So I like to keep a little bit of texture when I'm mashing the banana. You can mash it to a complete puree if you want to, but we like to keep a little bit of texture left in the banana. So because there's chocolate chips on the go, Mary is hovering around in the background here. She loves to get involved when there's chocolate chips going into the bacon. So we're going to add in our melted butter there as well, and we're just going to give that a good stir through again. And we're then going to add in our vanilla. So I'm using an organic vanilla bean paste here. It is a little bit more expensive, but it does give a really nice flavour, and I would definitely recommend it. Now we're just going to add in our spices here as well. We're just going to mix that through too. And we're going to add in our sugar. So it is 100 grams of brown sugar, but I was a little bit short on the brown sugar, so I just added in a little bit of caster sugar there as well, just in case you're wondering. So Mary is doing the chocolate chips for us here. So we're just going to add all of our chocolate chips. So that whole packet was 100 grams of chocolate chips. We're just going to give that a good stir through. She absolutely loves bacon. And she's pinching the chocolate chips as she's stirring as well. She probably had about 10 grams. So we're going to add all of our wet ingredients there into our flour. So just make sure you get it all out of the bowl, and we're then going to give that a good stir through there. And we're then going to add in our yogurt and our eggs as well. You could add your yogurt and your eggs into your jug with your bananas and sugar if you want to, but it really doesn't make much of a difference. So we're just going to mix that through and give that a really good stir. Now you might need to add a little bit more flour and a little bit more milk, depending on the consistency that you have once you've finished mixing here. I've added in a little bit of whole milk. If you find your mixture is too runny, you might need to add a little bit of flour. It just depends on how runny your bananas are, how squishy your bananas are. So you're looking for a nice cake batter consistency. So just keep adding enough milk, flour, balance it up until you have a nice dropping cake batter like so. Now I'm using this olive oil spray to grease up my muffin tins. I find sometimes that when I use the paper cases, they end up sticking to the muffins. So I've been using this spray just on my silicone tray here to just put the muffins straight into so that they can just pop out without any cases. It also saves you buying cases as well. I do find the silicone trays work really well because you can push them out from the bottom as well. So we're just looking for a good tablespoons worth, a heaped tablespoons worth in each muffin like so. You should get 12 out of this mix. If you want to double up, just double up the whole recipe, and you can make 24 and freeze any if there's any, or eat them as snacks as well. You just store them in an airtight container. So we're going to sprinkle a wee bit of sugar on the top there as well. You could use brown sugar if you wanted to. You could also sprinkle on a wee bit of chopped nuts on there as well, like maybe walnuts or something, pecans maybe even on the top there. I also like to add a little dusting of cinnamon as well, so I'm just going to do that before we pop them in. So we're going to cook our banana muffins at 200 Celsius in a fan oven for 8 minutes. We're then going to reduce the temperature down to 160 and continue cooking for a further 8 minutes. So don't open the door in between, just set your timer for 8 minutes and then reduce the temperature down to 160. Time it again for another 8 minutes, and they just came out perfectly. They were really well risen and really soft and delicious as well. So you can store these in an airtight container once they're cool. You can also pop them into freezer bags as well if you want to keep them longer too, and then you can just pop them in the fridge if you need to. I just keep mine on the counter because we're usually having them in the next day or so. And then if you want to reheat them as well, you can pop them into the oven for 10 minutes, just on about 160 or so, to warm them up. You could also use a microwave if you need to as well. So the next recipe is for the delicious fruity waffles. So this is a really nice thick batter. I really like this waffle batter. It's one that I go back to all the time. And the kids love a good waffle. So I make 6 so that we all have a waffle each for breakfast ahead of time. But if you want 2 waffles, obviously you can just double up the recipe, or if you want to make more, you can freeze them as well. So we're just going to whisk our sugar and our eggs there until it is nice and light in colour, like so. We're then going to add in our melted butter. Just make sure it's not too hot when you're putting it into the egg mixture. And we're also going to be adding in our milk there as well. We are going to be adding in milk at the end of the recipe too, just to thin the batter down to the thickness that you want. So we will be adding in a little bit of milk shortly as well. So I'm adding in some vanilla again. I'm using the same vanilla bean paste. I really love using this vanilla bean paste. As I said before, it is a little bit more expensive, but it's definitely worth the investment. It has such a good flavour. And we're just going to sieve our flour into that as well. So I did mix the vanilla bean paste in there before putting the flour in, just in case you thought I didn't. I didn't get that bit on camera actually. So we're just going to sieve that through into the egg mixture there. And we're then going to just add in a wee bit of extra baking powder there too. So we're just going to mix that through until we have a nice batter, and we're going to add in milk just to thin it out. So just keep adding in a wee splash of milk until you have a nice thick creamy batter. You're kind of looking for runnier than like a cake batter consistency. So you'll see in a minute. And I almost forgot to add in my salt as well. So I'm just adding a wee pinch of salt in there too. So don't forget to add in your salt. So you're looking for this kind of consistency here. So quite runny. It's very similar to a thick pancake batter. And if you don't have a waffle maker, you can actually use this batter to make pancakes for breakfast. So there you go. So just make sure it is mixed through well, nice and light and fluffy. And we're going to take those out and just get our waffle machine up to temperature. Now I'm going to have to admit, I also sprayed my waffle machine with the same olive oil stuff again. You could use melted butter if you want to, if you don't want to use a spray. I don't really like those low calorie sprays that you get. I'm never 100% sure on the ingredients in them. So this one was 100% olive oil, and it was said that it was still low calorie. I think it was like 2 calories a spray or something. Not that I'm like doing the whole calorie thing, but anyway. Now I'm going to have to admit, when I first added in my batter here, I didn't actually heat my waffle machine up to the full temperature, and it actually completely stuck to the waffle machine. So make sure your waffle maker is at full heat before you add in your batter. That way it won't stick to your waffle machine. I had to like scrub it off and start again. It was a bit of a nightmare, but anyway. I definitely don't master everything in the kitchen to the best of my ability, but anyway, this batch came out really well. I learnt my lesson from the first one and heated it up to the full heat and then added it in. Just as a little tip, I find that when you're filling your waffle maker, that it is good to like add a little spray in between each waffle as well, or put a little bit more butter in, but just to make sure that you have the batter right up and over I don't know what to call the bits. They're like pyramids, aren't they? Just make sure that you have enough to fully cover them, so you're only seeing batter. And I find that they came out the best when I completely covered them, and the batter was nice and thick in the tray. And I do have like a sort of thick waffle. It does say on the box that it creates thick waffles. So just make sure you don't put in too much if yours can't take this much batter. So I find it was good just to completely cover them and spread it all out like this. So anyway, I'm waffling on about waffles. They did come out really delicious, but this batter just made enough for one each. So there's 6 of us in the family, so we just had one each here. And we enjoyed them with fruit and a little bit of peanut butter. You could put some cream on, you could serve them with fruit and yogurt as well. Fruit and kefir is usually my go-to with like everything. I also added a little bit of chopped nuts in there as well, just from what I could find in the cupboard, and I think a wee bit of hemp seeds there as well. Another one of our favourites. Lots of healthy fats, and we also added a drizzle of maple syrup, of course. So the next one is for our haggis and cheese wraps. My son Daniel absolutely loves these. They are so delicious. They freeze really well, and they are so easy to make. So I'm using my non-stick here. It's not my favorite pan, I'm going to have to admit to that. I just use it because it is really quite massive, and I can get loads of scrambled eggs in it. I do want to get a nice stainless steel actually, so if anyone can recommend a good stainless steel pan, pop it in the comments below, because I have been looking at getting some of those again. So we're just going to add all of our eggs into our pan here. You can add all of your eggs into a jug, mix them up, and then pop them into your pan. You might do it differently. Sometimes I do it that way, sometimes I do it this way. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in, I guess. Obviously you sometimes drop little bits of shell in as well if you were cracking them in from the pan, so it is sometimes a good idea to pop them into a bowl or a jug first as well. So we're just going to add all of our eggs in there. You can tell which egg is from my garden because it's the bright orange one. So we're going to add our salt in there as well. We're just going to give that a good stir through, and just add a wee splash of milk if you want to as well, just to make the eggs go a little bit further. Now, if you hear any strange noises in the background, there's a lot of cows moving in the farm up from us, and there's also pheasants running around making all sorts of noises as well. So it's fun and games here. We're also surrounded by baby lambs at the moment too. So just cook your scrambled eggs as you usually would. I like mine quite runny, but the kids like theirs completely firm, so I am cooking them completely here for them, because they won't eat them if they're runny. And if they're runny as well, they're going to make your wraps all soggy as well. So you want to completely cook them. We're just going to grate up some cheese here. So I'm just using some cheddar that I found. I think it's from the Isle of Mull actually, Isle of Mull cheddar, that I had in the fridge. So just use whatever kind of cheese. If you don't have cheddar, just any old scraps of cheese will do from your fridge, just whatever you've got left over. So we're just going to grate a good few handfuls of cheese there. And we've also cooked our haggis up as well. So cook your haggis up to the instructions on the back of your packet. So I didn't want to give instructions because it's a little bit different for the individual brands of haggis, and you might be using tinned haggis as well, so that's going to be different as well. So just follow the instructions on the back of the pack. So my one was 45 minutes boiling. I find boiling is like the easiest way to cook it if it is in skin already. I do find that is the easiest way. Tinned haggis I'm not a big fan of. It just really doesn't taste as good as haggis, fresh haggis. But if that's all you can get your hands on, then just go for it. Just give it a try. I do actually have a recipe for a very, very basic crofter's haggis on my YouTube channel. I'll link it in the comments below. So basically we're just going to layer up our haggis, cheese and eggs, and then we're going to seal our wraps over, and that is it for this recipe. It's so easy. We're just going to pop them into our airtight container as well and pop them into the fridge. To reheat these, all you have to do is pop them into the oven for about 15 minutes or so, and they are ready. Now if you want to freeze them, you need to completely cool them and then pop them into an airtight freezer bag. I find it is really beneficial to cling film them individually first, or wrap them in foil first and then pop them into a freezer bag, and then you can just take them out, defrost them the night before in the fridge and pop them into the oven for 15 minutes once they're defrosted. Just make sure they're fully cooked through after they've been in the freezer as well. And that is it for our wraps. Super easy, super delicious. As I said before, you can get the recipe for a very basic haggis using liver in the description box below, or you could also use bacon or sausages for this recipe as well. So we have all of our wraps stacked in here nice and neatly and ready to go. So the next recipe we're making is for our instant chocolate oats. I did say we had quite a few chocolate recipes. It was the Easter holidays, I think we were in a chocolatey mood. So we're going to be using our Vitamix here. So you do need quite a powerful blender for blending up your oats. You could also use like a coffee grinder, one of those spice grinder things, or one of those hand blenders as well would work. So we're adding our oats into the jar. Now the ingredients are very flexible for this. You can just add as much oats as you want to. I basically added enough to fill 3/4 of my jar, and then I put it into the Vitamix to blend it into like powdered oats. So this is very similar to like the instant oats that you get in the supermarket. I find that it's a really nice way to cook oats. It's just so quick as well. So we're just going to blend that up for a few minutes until it is a nice powder consistency, and we're going to pop that into a huge bowl to mix with our other ingredients. So again, this is another really simple recipe that you can make up on a Sunday night, and I found that we got 2 breakfasts out of this one batch of oats as well. So depending on how many people and how big your portions are, you will get quite a lot of breakfasts out of this. So we're just going to blend that up again. I've lost my Vitamix plunger actually, so that's why I was using a spoon. Just make sure you switch your blender off before you stick anything in there, because I've actually broken a Vitamix jug before. So we're just going to add in our sugar, and we're also going to add in our spices as well, and a pinch of salt there too. So this is really flexible, this recipe. You can keep the spices out if you want to. You could add in some other spices of your choice. You could add in coconut sugar instead of the caster sugar, different nuts, different dried fruits. You can leave out the cocoa powder if you want to as well, and make like a plain one. It's really nice to add a little bit of honey in if you're cooking it. You could leave the sugar out completely and just cook it add honey in once it is finished as well, or maple syrup. So just try to make your own versions of this, just experiment. I always encourage people to experiment in the kitchen. I find it's the best way to be when you're cooking, and try not to stick to recipes too closely and to make things your own as well. So once you've got all your ingredients in there that you want to add in, you're just going to add it all back into your jar, seal it up, pop it on the counter, and you're ready to go in the morning. So when you're cooking your oats in the morning, if you're putting in say about a cup per person, then you're going to add about 2 cups of milk. So it's usually about 2 to 1 that I add for the milk. And then I usually add a little bit of water in just towards the end to thin it out as well. You could also add an extra bit of milk in there to thin it out too. So there we have a lovely jar of our instant oats, and they're super quick to make, so easy, so delicious, and they're really nice and chocolatey as well. They remind me of the Ready Break chocolate Ready Break that we used to eat when we were kids. My dad used to make it for us and we loved that. Really, really nice. So I'm just going to make up a batch here to show you. So we're adding in about 3 cups or so of our oats there with all of our lovely ingredients in there. You could also add in some pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds or hemp seeds even. Ground flaxseed would be another good one. And we're going to add a wee splash of vanilla. Mix that all up, and we're just going to bring the temperature up to like a medium simmer and just cook that away. So these cook really, really quick actually. It's probably about a total of 15 minutes in total. So we should have a nice consistency like this. You can make it as thick or thin as you like. Just add in as much milk or water at the end as you want as well. So I like to make mine quite thick. It does kind of thicken as it cools as well, so just bear that in mind. when you're making it. You might want to make it a little bit thinner than I have. I just added a wee bit into each bowl, and then added in some chopped pear on top as well. So just added in some chopped fruit, served it up with a glass of, I think the kids had some yogurt drink, and I had some kefir milk that I'll be making on my kitchen counter as well. So that was it. Super easy and super delicious instant oats. You can make up as much or as little as you want of these as well. You could double up your batch and make a huge batch of them and just keep it in your pantry or whatever. So we're going to make our next recipe for simple baked oats. Another super easy one, using our lovely Scottish oats as well. So we're just going to add all of our oats into a large dish here. Sometimes I just make this up the night ahead and not even on the Sunday. It's so easy to make. I just still don't quite have time in the morning to prepare a lot of things like this, so it's nice to make it up the night before. So we're going to add our salt and our baking powder and spices into our oats there as well. So these are rolled oats that I'm using, and we're just going to give that a good mix through. We're also going to add in our sugar. You could add in coconut sugar if you don't want to use the brown sugar, or any other sugar that you prefer, maybe light brown sugar even. You can also use maple syrup or honey instead of sugar as well, so feel free to change that bit up. You can also leave out the spices and make it less spicy. So we're just going to give that a good mix through, break up the sugar a little bit as well. And we're going to add our milk into our jug there, and we're then going to pour that on top of our dried mixture. And we're also going to add our egg into our milk there too, and we're then just going to give that a good mix through, or our eggs, give that a good mix through, and then just pour it into the oats. Oh, and we're also adding our vanilla in there as well, sorry. So we're going to give that a good stir through, and we're then going to pour that onto our oat mixture. You can also add in a little bit of grated apple. Grated carrot works really nice as well and gives you like a sort of carrot cake kind of baked oats, maybe with a little bit of raisin and walnut in there too. Grated apple works really well, it gives you almost like a sort of toffee apple flavour. I actually have two baked oats recipes, another two baked oats recipes that are linked down below for you. They've just been on my channel for a while, so I've got those in there as well if you want to look for different variations. I think one is a toffee apple and one is a berry and chocolate, I think, berry and white chocolate, I think, but you can just use them to give you some more ideas on flavours. So these are so easy. They freeze really well once they are cooked. You can slice them up and freeze them in freezer bags. Again, we're using a sprinkle of chocolate chips because we had a little bit extra, and somebody in the background is pestering me for chocolate chips as usual. As soon as there is any mention of chocolate chips in my kitchen, Mary comes running. She's wearing her Minnie Mouse dress there as well. She's so cute. So you don't have to add chocolate in this one, but we just thought we'd add it on since we're going for a bit of a chocolate theme in this video. So once it's cooked, it should be firm to touch, and we cooked that for about 25 to 30 minutes at 160. Just make sure you don't burn it. You can open your oven to check halfway through if you want to. Don't worry, it's not going to like go flat like a cake or anything. Just keep an eye on it. I was about 25 minutes in an oven at about 160. That's a fan oven. So that's like the magic number in my kitchen, 160. I use that for many things, for cooking many things. So it should look something like this. I almost burnt myself there trying to show you the insides. So really nice and delicious. You can serve it up with yogurt, cream, Kefir milk is another favourite of mine. I know I've mentioned that lots of times. I like to have kefir with my breakfast just because it's so nutritious. It has lots of living bacteria and it's really, really healthy for you. Anyway, chopped fruit is another good one as well. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed making your make ahead breakfasts. I'd love to see pictures of you with all these breakfasts stacked up ready to go for the week. If you have done so, or if you've just decided to make one recipe for the week ahead, then please feel free to share a photo over on Instagram. I'd love to see your pictures. And if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and if you click the subscribe button next to it and the little bell, I will see you guys again soon. I have lots of lovely recipes coming your way. There's also loads of free recipes available over my website, and my free cookbooks available over there too at angiemilne.com, and there's also other cookbooks available for sale over there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, lots of love, bye bye.